After her recent move to Washington, D.C., Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, DNY, has allegedly discovered what a garbage disposal is, describing it as terrifying in a series of photos and videos she shared to her Instagram account. "This DC apartment is bougie and has things I've never seen before. Like, what is a garbage disposal really for?" Ocasio-Cortez asked in the video caption. "Is it better or worse than throwing something in the garbage? Most importantly, why is it so loud and yelling at me? Okay everyone, I need your help because I just moved into this apartment a few months ago and I just flipped a switch and it made that noise and it scared the daylights out of me," the 29-year-old freshman congresswoman said in the video. "I am told this is a garbage disposal," Ocasio-Cortez explained, either publicly revealing her ignorance or engaging in supreme trolling. "I've never seen a garbage disposal. I never had one in any place I've ever lived. It is terrifying. I don't know what to use it for, or what its purpose is." At one point, Ocasio-Cortez asked, "Is this environmentally sound?" Ocasio-Cortez later noted, "Is this what social mobility is? Using kitchen appliances you never saw growing up?" As she ended the message of curiosity, Ocasio-Cortez said, "All you people telling me to reach in and grab whatever's there are just Republicans trying to test my health insurance. I'm on to you," she added. The White House is dropping a long-time initiative of President Trump's that reduces overall legal immigration levels to increase U.S. wages, a senior administration official tells the media. Throughout 2015, 2016, and 2017, Trump routinely touted his plans to reduce the number of legal immigrants who arrive in the U.S. on a myriad of visas. Since the 1990s, when it was expanded by President George H.W. Bush, legal annual immigration levels have remained at historic highs with about 1.2 million nationals legally admitted every year. For example, since 1980, the number of legal immigrants admitted to the U.S. every year has not dipped below 525,000 admissions. Since 1999, annual legal immigration levels have not dropped below 645,000 admissions, and since 2004, the average number of legal immigrants admitted every year has not dipped below 1 million admissions. Trump often touted the need for reducing legal immigration levels to reduce poverty, increase wages, and save taxpayers billions and billions of dollars in 2017, arguing that the current importation of more than 1 million legal immigrants every year has placed substantial pressure on American workers, taxpayers, and community resources. Trump said of the current legal immigration system, "Among those hit the hardest in recent years have been immigrants, and very importantly, minority workers competing for jobs against brand new arrivals. And it has not been fair to our people, to our citizens, to our workers." Emphasis added. An immigration plan by the White House, with only preliminary details available, does not seek to reduce any forms of legal immigration to the country, a senior administration official told the Washington Post in The Hill. A senior administration official told reporters after the meeting that the president had approved the effort to overhaul America's immigration system and increase border security last week, and that it should now be considered the President Trump plan, the Post reported. Under the plan, the same number of immigrants would be permitted to enter the country, but the composition would change. Senator David Perdue, ARGA, who attended a meeting with Trump on Tuesday, confirmed to Breitbart News these details of the White House plan. While this is still in the preliminary stage, the president has proposed maintaining the 1.1 million legal immigrants we bring in each year but changing the mix to respond to the needs of our growing economy and workforce, Perdue told the media following the meeting. Instead, the plan shifts the way in which the U.S. admits the more than 1.2 million legal immigrants it accepts every year. During an interview with Time magazine last month, senior advisor Jared Kushner said Trump's focus for reforming the national immigration system centers on protecting Americans' wages. "We have a lot of objectives. Number one, he wants to protect American wages," Kushner said. "High levels of immigration, illegal and legal, puts downward pressure on U.S. wages while redistributing about $500 billion in wealth away from America's working and middle class and towards employers and new arrivals," research by the National Academies of Sciences, Engineering and Medicine has found. Economist George Boreas has detailed how the country's working class, those without a high school diploma, have been primarily hurt by the annual admission of more than 1 million mostly low-skilled foreign nationals. The typical high school dropout earns about $25,000 annually, Boreas wrote for Politico in October 2016. According to census data, Immigrants admitted in the past 2 decades lacking a high school diploma have increased the size of the low-skilled workforce by roughly 25%. As a result, the earnings of this particularly vulnerable group dropped by between $800 and $1,500 each year. Center for Immigration Studies Director of Research Stephen Camarota has discovered similar wage depression trends. For every 1% increase in the immigrant portion of American workers' occupations reduces their weekly wages by about 0.5%, Camarota finds. This means the average native-born American worker today has his weekly wages reduced by perhaps 8.5% because of current legal immigration levels. In a state like Florida, where immigrants make up about 25.4% of the labor force, American workers have their weekly wages reduced by about 12.5%. In California, where immigrants make up 34% of the labor force, American workers' weekly wages are reduced by potentially 17%. Likewise, every 1% increase in the immigrant portion of low-skilled U.S. occupations reduces wages by about 0.8%. Should 15% of low-skilled jobs be held by foreign-born workers, it would reduce the wages of native-born American workers by perhaps 12%. At current legal immigration rates, about 1 in 6 U.S. residents will have been born outside of the country by 2060, the Census Bureau has found. The foreign-born population in the U.S. is expected to reach 69 million in the next 4 decades. Tuesday at an event in New York City hosted by Cornell University's Institute of Politics and Global Affairs, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, DCA, said Democrats could not accept a second term for Donald Trump. Pelosi said, "We have to make sure, this will sound political, but we have to make sure that the Constitution wins the next presidential election. We can't be worrying about, well, how long is this going to take? Well, that will take as long as it does. And we will press the case so that in the court of public opinion people will know what is right. But we cannot accept a second term for Donald Trump if we are going to be faithful to our democracy and to the Constitution of the United States." She added, "And that is just the fact. So we have to operate on many fronts. We have to operate in the Congress, in the courts, and in the court of public opinion, and we must win the next election." Left-wing actor Alec Baldwin seems to think that Bill Clinton deserves a couple of years more in the White House. If we follow Trump's thinking about what was stolen by his political opponents, let's go further, Alec Baldwin fumed on Tuesday. "I want Bill Clinton back in office for a couple of years." Baldwin was goaded by a pair of President Trump's tweets about how he has had 2 years of his presidency stolen from him over the collusion delusion. On Saturday, May 4, the president retweeted a tweet by Christian activist Jerry Falwell, who insisted that the media has stolen 2 years of Trump's presidency with a constant stream of lies about Russia collusion. And that now that special counsel Robert Mueller has proven the collusion claims to be false, Trump is owed 2 extra years in the White House as a sort of do-over. In a tweet of his own, the president later added, "Despite the tremendous success that I have had as president, including perhaps the greatest economy and most successful first 2 years of any president in history, they have stolen 2 years of our presidency, collusion delusion, that we will never be able to get back." But Baldwin was also spurred by a story by CNN that claims hundreds of former justice officials assert Trump would be facing felony charges if he were not president. Trump wants 2 years added on due to the attempted coup. Baldwin said. But subtract for the corruption, stupidity, poor management skills, miserable leadership qualities, greed, sloth, bad hair dye, and this, Baldwin tweeted about the CNN story. CNN is under intense fire Tuesday after the network's writer-producer John Blake published an article with the subheadline asking how black will the royal baby be? The piece, published on Monday under the headline Analysis, "Don't Use the Royal Birth to Trot Out a Dangerous Myth," apparently sought to address the flood of news reports describing Meghan Markle and Prince Harry's newborn son as the first Afro-American baby born into the royal family. "But let's not use the royal birth to trot out a dangerous myth," Blake wrote. "Let's not turn this child into another great mixed-race hope." Blake offered his readers an alternative outlook on which they might view the newest addition to the royal family, one he says is divorced from the current racial obsession and worthy of celebrating. Imagine a child born to a couple like the Duke and Duchess, and no one obsesses over their racial mixture, or how white or black they look. Imagine if that child was born with dark skin, a wide nose, and kinky hair, and people would still call that child gorgeous, Blake wrote in conclusion. All that would matter is that the child has 2 parents who love him or her. That's the kind of fairy tale I'm waiting for. The outcry and criticism of Blake and CNN came in fast and furious, with Hollywood figures, left-wing activists, and even former CNN personalities blasting the network. CNN needs more people of color working in the executive, decision-making ranks. Obviously, former CNN anchor Soledad O'Brien said. Hey Jeff Zucker, Amy Antelis, Ken Jobs and the @CNN leadership team. This is why the National Association of Black Journalists has called y'all out on no black executives. This is one of the dumbest headlines this year. WTF? Former CNN contributor Roland Martin fumed at CNN head Zucker.